everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of
EduTalk
Pod. And today's episode, we will be covering challenges in the transitioning from secondary to JC. Okay, let's go. So I think that from transitioning from like secondary school to JC, many students will face many different difficulties. So what do you think is like the main difference in environment academically from secondary school to like JC?
I think at least for the IP setting, right? I feel like in secondary school, there's a lot more group projects that count like to a significant portion of your grade, which isn't really there in JC lah. So sometimes your academic performance, even if it is similar to that like in secondary school, you might feel like, oh, why are my grades so lacking in JC, even though I'm like doing similar to how I was doing before. But it's because like now all your grades are reliant on your papers and everything, which can be like a little bit of it can take a little bit of adjusting to, but at the end of the day, you're writing A levels and you don't really have any projects that will help you bring your grade up, except for like PW, I guess.
I think like not a lot of, I think if you come from like a O-level track, you don't have that many projects. So what are some projects that contributed to your grades in secondary school?
So I remember that when I was in Sec 4, my school had this project called STEAM. And this is basically one project that is counted in your grade for your sciences and your math, but depending on the subject, it's like counted to a different percentage, maybe around like 10-15%. And we also had like for example in math, we had like pair work tests kind of things. So like you just get into pairs and it's just like a normal test setting, but except it's like pair work or group work, which is better than soloing an exam, I think.
Yeah. How about for you? How was
for me
secondary school?
Unlike what she said, we didn't really have a lot of projects that contributed to
same.
our scores. Like I think it's mainly like common test, then a final test. So it's like 15%, 50%, 70%.
Yeah.
But I think the main difference really is the academic rigor. Because I think you're spoon-fed a lot of information in regards to like what you should be studying and what you shouldn't be studying. And what's in the syllabus in secondary school. Yeah, all the work is laid out to you and the answers are given to you . Whereas in JC, it's a lot of like doing your own thinking, sieving out information that is important in the A-level syllabus. For biology, for like our school, we have like 9 books.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people always advise us to make your own notes because a lot of the things in the bio notes are not in the syllabus. So definitely there's a lot of like identifying what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be like memorized .
Yeah, which you did not have to do in secondary.
It's a lot of independent learning and a lot of self-control because most of the time you're scheduling your own time and everybody has a lot of commitments. So you must make sure that while you can commit your commitments, you have enough time to focus on yourself and study .
I think another big thing is that in secondary school, because I was an IP too, you just study and you take an exam and the exam is graded and stuff, but it wasn't so big. But like A levels is like all eggs in one basket and you only have like this one time rather than like WA1, WA2, like and so on. So I think that was like the main difference for me, and having just one exam that determines your grades and the past like 2 years was kind of stressful. Yeah.
Okay, so I was from O level, so I think like I'm like a bit used to it, like in terms of like studies, because we also like O level is like one major exam also, same like A level. So it's like, okay, I know that I have to really like chiong my studies, but the jump from like secondary school to JC was really, really big. And like a lot of teachers in O-level, in my like secondary school told me that JC content is really like 10 times the amount you study in like secondary school, and the amount of like how much depth your content is also like it also increases by like a lot. So yeah, but I was like, okay lah, maybe it can't be that bad, right? Like I was thinking about it. Then after my first like bio lecture, I was like, okay. Okay, nice. Yeah. And I feel like I actually saved a lot of my O-level notes, like for bio and like chem and like math, like A math. Like I saved a lot of my notes because I thought they might like help me in like JC. But honestly, it's like useless lah. Like honestly speaking, it's like super useless. Cause the topics you learn in like JC is like different, and even if they're like common topics, it's really super in depth that your secondary school notes can't help you at all. Yeah, and because most of the people from my school were IP, right? So the teachers, like during tutorials, they also really like they gloss over a lot of like information.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they always
for IP.
Yeah, so they always say like, oh, you guys already learned this in secondary school.
Yeah.
Then I was like, wait, no, I did not. I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really hard lah, but eventually it got better. Eventually. Yeah.
Wait, to like elaborate more, I think that the IP syllabus covers not a lot of, but it does cover some of like the JC content. So when you go into JC for a lot of IP students, you're not learning everything like fresh, like graphs and like transformation. We learned that in secondary school, and some chem topics too, right? I think chem equilibria.
Yeah.
I think I learned it in secondary school.
It's okay. So I guess like if you are going to JC, especially like a IP school from O levels, right?
There's
you really
something to take note of.
yeah, and you really have to like put in a lot of time to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, if you're like struggling with your grades, do you think that like the schools usually support you? Like you can seek consultation if you want to.
Yeah, okay. Like in terms of consultation, I would say like it's relatively like easy to get actually no, it's not easy to get a consultation slot with your teacher, especially in like secondary school. You're still like okay, like quite easy can get consultation slot, right? But then you come to like JC, especially
Depends on your teachers too, I think. Depends on your teachers in your class too. Yeah.
and what subject. Like a lot of people, like my teachers' consultation slots are always like fully booked. So it's like
because
really,
you're really busy.
yeah, and then most consultation slots are like 15 minutes long so that they can pack as many students as possible. So it's like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like a lot of your studies you have to do it yourself lah.
Tuition.
Tuition will help you, honestly.
Yeah.
TLDR, you have like 5 times more the workload. Like you have 5 times more content to study, but you have 5 times less the amount of time because of all the commitments you have.
Yeah.
It's really about time management and finding ways to support yourself through these 2 years.
Yeah. I think that there is like a common sentiment amongst like maybe IP schools that the environment is very competitive and really stressful because like your friends, I mean, it's 2 years long and everyone's trying to do as much as they can and, you know, like I would say outcompete each other. Do you guys think that's true? Like, is it very stressful? Do you think the environment is supportive? And if it's like really stressful and like super competitive, how do you think that like people should navigate that?
I think it is stressful because there's a goal that everyone has and everyone has their own target. But whether or not there's competition, I feel that JC is really a competition against yourself lah. Because you're not trying to outbeat anyone. There's no bell curve. To be honest, like I think a lot of people have this misguided like thoughts that in A levels there's a bell curve, but instead it's like just a grade boundary, right? Looking at like how the whole batch does. Yeah, so you're actually not competing against other people like in PSLE where if you do better than 99% of the cohort, you actually have a better score. But you just need the A grade, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't need a 90 mark. You don't need to get 90 marks to get A's. You just need your 70. So I think the competition part, I feel competition is mainly like self-inflicted lah. So as long as you know that you have a target, which is to get your all A's or you just want to get RP80, you just have to work hard on your own lah. And seeing other people work hard does not really make me very stressed.
Yeah.
It kind of like motivates me that, you know, when other people are spending more time studying, if I don't study, I'm losing out. So I don't think it's really stressful on that part. In terms of support wise, I feel my friends are quite supportive. I guess. So they really like make time to help you lah. So I have friends who like I can WhatsApp and they'll just reply me and explain like different questions to me lah. So I think support wise, we don't really backstab each other in that sense. So I think it's quite supportive.
I think like to add on to this point, I think it's also like how competitive you want your GC environment to be is very like self-inflicted and it's who you surround yourself with. For me personally, I feel like my friends were awesome. Like if I needed help or anything, I just WhatsApp them like what he said. And everyone is very willing to share and stuff. The only thing is that I feel like Hwa Chong was like a bit scary. The first like year, I think it was really hard to adjust to the culture of like going to school early in the morning and everyone's just in the canteen like mugging. I feel like that was quite stressful at the start. But I think that closer towards A levels or like in J2, I've learned to like appreciate that because you go into school and you feel really motivated and it's like this is a space to be like studying and learning and working hard. When everyone around you is working really hard, it rubs off on you and you want to work really hard too. So I think it's also about how you want to look at it, because I mean, honestly speaking, it can be very stressful and it can get very like not competitive, but you look at someone else like doing so much work or working so hard and you're like, I should be doing that. But I think that if you learn to just like take yourself out of it and realize that you're your own person, like going through life at your own pace, it helps a lot.
Yeah, so like initially it's like same as Nin. When every morning when I step into school, I'll just see everybody like mugging in the canteen.
Yeah.
Then I walk into my class, everybody
everyone's
also
mugging
mugging
again.
Then I'm like, oh my god. So it's like really stressful because I prefer to use my mornings to watch TikTok lah. Watch TikTok or like take a nap before class starts.
Low-key.
So like I always feel like I'm losing out, especially because I have a high commitment CCA. Then like compared to like other CCAs who only have like one CCA day a week, right? Then I feel like, oh, I'm not studying as much as the rest, and it's really like stressing me out. But in J2 year, I also like realized that okay, this is actually quite a good environment because it pushes me to actually study.
Yeah.
Because if not, I really like just slack on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like low-key when your friends are smarter than you,
Yeah.
like it's so,
So
good
much more
because
Yeah,
they
'cause
help you.
right?
They help you.
Yeah.
Like as long as your friends are really nice and they don't like outrightly like call you stupid or like think you're stupid and stuff. Like it's so nice to have people who are like better than you, because then they just teach you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my friends really helped me a lot. Like they will
Facts.
always send like summaries that like
Oh
'cause
yeah, or like their own notes and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
It's really nice.
it's really
yeah.
good. Yeah.
About who you surround yourself with.
Surround
Yeah.
yourself with the right people.
Facts.
Facts.
Bro.
Facts.
Hashtag facts.
Hashtag facts.
Okay. So like Nikita, have you ever had any like bad experiences in school or like been around like toxic people? And if you have, like what are some things people can do?
I think that one thing that I've seen like quite a bit, but I don't think this is like a toxic thing, because everyone holds themselves to their own standard. But basically, there's a lot of like some people who are like usually like high achievers. They get like A's and stuff. And maybe like once they slip and they get like a B or a C, and then they complain. They're like, oh, I did so badly, and I like I basically tanked this exam.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, like, it's okay to have your own standards for yourself and also be upset when you don't reach the standards. But then there's also the thing of complaining to someone who
would like to have that grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you know that someone did worse than you and you go complain to them about a grade that you got that is actually better than theirs, then I feel like that's not very like it's not very
Smart.
Like low EQ
Yeah.
yeah. It's like not very nice to hear, because it's like, oh, you did better than me in this exam. Good for you. Then they're like, oh no, yeah, but actually like I should have done better. And like when they when they talk down on themselves because they did what they consider as bad and you did worse than them.
Yeah, it feels
also-
really
yeah.
bad. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I
And
so
also
get
makes
what
you
mean.
think that, oh, if they think that
that is
this
bad.
is bad for
Yeah.
them, so do they think that I'm like not that I'm
Yeah.
also like very stupid or something?
Yeah, I get what
Yeah.
you mean.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of but honestly, like I understand there's some people who are usually high achievers, they do that and they don't really realize the impact it has. So I feel like at the same time, if you have friends who do that and it actually like affects you, the
Talk
best thing
about
would
it.
be
Yeah,
is to have a
communicate.
conversation like,
Yeah.
hey, like I
That's not
understand,
very
but
nice.
let's not. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, it wouldn't be toxic if your friend hears what you say and they're like, oh, okay, so sorry.
Communication
Like, yeah,
is key.
communication is key,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really agree with you. I think that when I encounter people like that, which I encounter like quite a bit, I realize that they don't do it with like the intention to hurt you or anything like that. It's usually just they're really disappointed themselves, and it's just like a difference in expectations, a difference in like what they want goals wise. And I think just talking to them about it, just telling them like, I don't like it because, you know, I did worse than you, it really helps, and they're usually very receptive. And if they're
Yeah.
not, bye, no more friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, like, moving on, I feel like we should maybe touch a bit on our different academic experiences. So for me personally, for like Hwa Chong, I feel like my school, we had a lot of like online lectures and not a lot of like hand holding again, but like I feel like we were expected. There was this expectation that you come to class prepared, you know, and you watch the lectures beforehand. So like for example, for chemistry and stuff, we do our own like like lecture work, and then you come to class for tutorials and the teacher like explains it to you. And I feel like for me, like there were some subjects like chemistry where that worked really well for me, and some subjects like math, which I genuinely naturally like struggled a little bit more with. And I think for my school also there was a mixture of like some lectures that were compulsory and some lectures that were not, or like online. So I think for like bio, we had mass consolidations, which we had to attend on top of tutorial lessons. So what was that like for your school? Because I think I'm speaking on behalf of all three of us, except for him who's in SMTP.
But SMTP also in our
The same.
lectures are
It's
same,
like-
I mean,
right?
Yeah, it's
there are
kind of the
specific
same.
lectures that we are put out of. So there's some
Yeah.
topics that we
Oh.
weren't. And for
Oh.
chemistry, we didn't really learn the lecture way that y'all did.
Oh yeah.
So essentially what we did was this very chim term called guided inquiry. It's actually what the teachers told us is you're not supposed to read your notes book before coming to class.
Oh,
And when you come to class, they'll give you this worksheet, which is like, catered for us lah. And then you have to solve like some random concepts before deriving at the concept that's actually tested for A-levels.
I mean, for us, we also had online lectures for math, but we had like a period in school where we could watch our lecture. So we had like a 1.5 hour lesson every week that we had time to like watch our lecture instead of having an actual physical lecture. It was just online in SLS, so we could pace ourselves however we wanted. And then for our other subjects, we had actual like physical lectures and physical tutorials. But then the thing is that for chem, it was more like they taught stuff. It just depended on the week. Some weeks they taught stuff during the lecture. Some weeks like we did like questions and stuff during the lectures. So it really just was dependent on the pacing of all the classes, because like they just needed something to do in the lecture where like they were together for all classes. But mostly it's still all classes going at their own pace.
Yeah.
Especially for math, because it's online, right? Some teachers will ask their class to like do the lecture over the weekend so they can take over the lesson.
That's like common, right? You, like, do the-
So
Yeah.
it depends on the teacher you get, and also like the subject and the department in your school.
Well, like in my experience, I found that because of this like lecture tutorial style, it's very easy to fall behind. For me personally, like I found that, again, not naturally inclined to math, but I feel like the lecture style, because like if you watch a video, you can't really ask questions in the video, right? And for me, because I have ADHD, I would like the question to be answered immediately. Like I do not like waiting. So I found that like if I watched this video on like, let's say, math, and I did not understand this one particular concept, unless I got it immediately, I would not want to watch the video anymore, because I would feel like it was a waste of time.
Yeah,
When it probably wasn't if I just like chilled out and like learned it. But I found that really difficult. So I fell behind on a lot of my lectures. Like I just stopped watching my lectures altogether, and I figured like I'll just figure it out in class. I think for my school, the way it ran was that the lectures were supposed to be you watch beforehand, and then when you come to class, you ask like questions during the tutorials, and that was how it was supposed to work. But for me, that system I found it really hard to keep up with, and I ended up falling really behind.
Same. Yeah.
Same.
Like when I watch
Same.
the lecture videos, right, then when I don't understand one part, then I will rewatch it so many times, but I still don't get it, because it's like it's just the same thing over and over again. Like it's not gonna help me. Then when I ask my teacher, okay, like he quite fast lah, cause I feel like he's chronically online, not gonna lie, but like so yeah, so then I just ask him. I'm just lucky enough that he can answer me
your question
like
immediately.
yeah. But it's really hard lah.
Yeah.
But for our school, we have this thing called math study session. Basically, like, okay, unofficial name is called DESU Club. So basically, you get DSU, you go there.
DESU Club for life.
I saw you like
Everywhere,
every all the time. Yeah.
So like DESU Club was for real.
Yeah, and like math study session, it kind of helped.
Yeah,
because-
it helped, right?
Yeah,
I
it
feel like
helped.
it was better.
Yeah, and they gave us like summaries before like each
which I did not listen to.
the summaries.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I just did
it's-
the questions.
It's okay lah.
Okay.
Actually, okay, no, everybody does that though.
Yeah, like
like-
different differs
Yeah.
between people.
Yeah, they will give like a worksheet, then you just do at your own pace. Then after that, the teacher will be going through the questions like one by one, you know, and
Yeah.
they'll give you like a summary of like
Yeah.
important like formulas to like memorize for that specific topic,
And
which
like
helped
teachers
a lot.
walk around to help
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And that really helped.
Yeah, but they changed the format recently
Yeah,
though.
they changed the format
To like a
too.
class. It used to be like a lecture format, then just a bunch of teachers walking around to help
And then
you.
it became tutorial format.
Yeah, it just became like a tutorial. So it's like,
Yeah.
what? It didn't help anymore. So
yeah. I feel like, honestly speaking, how you cope with like JC and stuff, or like academics wise, it's also very like based on your own personal style of learning. Like they give you like this very like, I would say, cookie cutter like approach where like you just have to like keep up or lag behind or find alternative sources of support like tuition. Yeah, and I feel like it depends, because for some people I know the system really works, like maybe for you I'm not really sure, but for some people the system really works, and for some people not so much. Okay, let's be real here. I feel like when you get to JC and like you just don't have any expectations of yourself. Okay, I mean like don't have any expectations, meaning like you try your best. I think that in anything in life you should always try your best, but letting go of the expectation. You can have a goal. You can have a goal to work towards and be like, I want to get, let's say, 90 rank points for A-levels, right? That doesn't mean that the first test you go to like in Hwa Chong, you need to get an A. I think that having a goal is important, but have like really like letting go of the expectation of having to ace every test or just do very well will make your life so much easier. And when you fail at something, it will give you like the resilience to get back up, because you know that it's not the end of the world. Because like honestly speaking, like I think like even through like prelims, you can do really badly for prelims and still do well for A-levels. Like just because your peers are doing incredibly well for like prelims or incredibly well for this one exam, it doesn't mean that you're not going to. And I think once you realize that and like internalize it, your life becomes so much easier, and you know like school just becomes less competitive. Like once you just let go of the expectation of who you should be and just accept where you are.
Yeah, just be realistic.
So I think like at the start of this episode, we were talking about the different study cultures in our school and how like this like coming to school every day and watching everyone study is like pushing us to do better. But I think that when there is like a good side, there's also a bad side. So let's discuss the toxic, work-life culture in like schools. For me personally, I found that, closer towards A-levels, those apps like Forest and YPT. I love Forest. I'm a Forest gang, sorry. I ain't converting. But I think these apps maybe, or just your friends in general, like when they study a lot, they not expect you, but there is kind of that like expectation that you do it too. And how do you guys navigate that? Do you feel that too?
For me, I feel quite indifferent to it, because in the end, it's my own goals lah, and it's my own dreams. So I'm not really tempted by how long people study, as long as I know that, I put in consistent effort into what I've been doing. Yeah, whatever result I get is due to my efforts lah. So I think I'm not very, very bothered by the fact that other people are studying 15 hours or not.
Yeah, and like studying really long does not mean that it's productive too. Like there's that. Yeah.
I think for me, I'm a very competitive person. But the thing is, it's like short-term competitiveness, So if I can see the results and I can beat them like in that time, then that would be great. So I use YPT a lot, especially closer to prelims and A-levels itself. I remember that on YPT, we had like a cohort YPT, but there were only like 50 people in it, okay? Because that's the maximum group size. But there was this one person whose YPT username was Kern, and they were like my one big nemesis, because they were always like okay, this was like closer to mid-years, right? So they would clock like 5 hours a day or something, which is like I feel like a solid amount. So I was like, oh, I need to study more than them. After mid-years, right? I was like, okay, I'm gonna start clocking more. Then at a certain point, I was like, okay, I have to like become like the first in the leaderboard every day. Like I feel like that was like such a like a mindset. So I remember that like when we had like our break before prelims, and we had our time to like study and everything, right? YPT time resets at 5 a.m. I will wake up at 4:30, and then I will study from 5. I will study for maybe 3 hours. Then I'll take half an hour break and then shower and everything. And then I'll study again until lunch. Then I'll take another 1 hour break. Then I study again. It's like you study a few hours and you take half an hour break. I just used to do that. Then like I used to like clock like 8. Like at first it was like 6 hours. Then like it increase until like at a certain point, right? I would study from like 5 to 9, and then like 9:30 to 12, then 1 to 6, then like 7 to 10, and then I go to sleep.
Was it like efficient, like effective?
I think so, but I mean, to each their own, right? I mean, for me, I feel like I still had like a lot of content to cover for me personally. So I felt like, okay, this app is giving me so much motivation, so I might as well just take it and study as much as I can.
It's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
I feel like if you have the right mindset going into
Yeah.
it, it's really fun to just like see how much your friends like.
It's so fun because
Yeah.
because I can see all the leaderboards, right? So
Yeah.
there's the SGJC
Yeah.
like one, and then there's that one's like a community. Then
Oh,
there's
wow.
my cohort one. So I will start exactly at 5 reset. Then
Mhm.
I will start, and then I will just be at the top of everything for a
Oh,
while.
that's so fun.
Oh.
And then like I will like okay, then I'll be like okay, the JC one I have to be on the first page by the time I go to sleep.
Damn.
Then for the JC, like for my cohort one, I have to be in the first place until I go to sleep.
Oh damn.
And that was actually such a big
good
driving force
motivation.
for me.
Yeah.
And then there were like more people who also started clocking more hours. So like there was always that one person, Kern, who was always there. And then there were like more people who also came in.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, it's like so much motivation, man. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, it's so fun. Yeah.
Then I just
Yeah.
I feel like it helped so
yeah,
much.
I kind of had that experience too.
Mm.
Because for me, my best friend, like my really good friend, shout out to Amber. Yeah, like we used to like video call. So
Mm.
I would just video call her and leave her there while I go shower, while I eat, while I do anything. She's just there. And then we study together. So she's like a 24/7, like 24-hour thing over there. And like whenever I had questions, I would ask her because she's like 10 times smarter than me. And she was like awesome. Like she would always help me and I loved it. Like I feel like when you get like a study buddy, and then she used YPT, but I used Forest. Okay, but when you get like a study buddy to like clock in the hours with you and who helps you, I feel like studying, it sounds so boring and like bad, but I feel like it can also be really exciting and fun. Like if you get the right support system and you have the right driving force. Although it can get like pretty toxic, you know, when you're like competing for hours.
Like, okay, so I didn't use any of like the apps because it like kind of stressed me out when I see like I'm studying less than other people. So I just like make my own schedule. So my plan is like, okay, every day wake up 7 a.m. Then I just study until I feel hungry. Then when I feel hungry, I just go and like
Starbucks?
I just make my breakfast at home. Sometimes I just cook noodles, to be honest, because like it's fast. Yeah, it's fast and it's like easy. Then I just cook noodles, then I eat like half an hour. Then after that, I just study again until like at night. Then I feel like, oh, dinner time. Then I'm like, oh, dinner. The sunset already. Yeah, sunset already. Then like, oh, I think I have to go eat dinner now. Yeah, that was like what I did like every single day leading up to like A levels, because like in the first half of like J2 year, I kind of like slacked, which you shouldn't do. Okay, you should really like pace yourself in like JC. Like if not, you're gonna suffer like towards A levels. Like actually.
Talking about a schedule, right? I think y'all should like scale expectations when making schedules. Cause back in Sec 4, I usually do like daily schedules. So like before the next day, before I sleep, I will write down what I want to do for the whole day. Then the following day, then in JC, I try to do the same. But you realize you only check off one of like the 5 things that you want to do.
That's
So like just
true.
reading your notes takes up like 9 to 4.
Yeah.
Scale your expectations and which is why we
Have
always
like a realistic.
have realistic goals lah. And that's also why we say you should pace out your learning, because you cannot. It's very hard to cram in JC.
What I used to do is that I used to make like weekly timetables. Then I realized, okay, I actually just end up pushing everything to the last few days of the week. So I started making daily timetables instead. And I feel like that helped more, because I feel like if I finish most of the things and maybe I have like 1 or 2 things I haven't finished, okay, I can just push it to like the first things to do the next day. And I feel like that was like much easier, because like sometimes, especially like when I was in my YPT 15 hours a day phase,
Oh my
right?
god.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can do like 7 topics today. Like obviously that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like I
Yeah.
just put first. So I just like put it all over. Then I'm like, okay, this topic it definitely needs more than 2 hours of my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like in the end, like maybe 1 or 2 topics, or like 1, 2, 3 topics maybe even gets pushed to the next day. And I feel like that's okay. And also like I felt like it was better that I was doing like a daily timetable instead of a weekly timetable, because I feel like if I didn't finish like maybe 2 or 3 topics in one day, I feel like my entire timetable would just fall through. And then I would just not be motivated to do anything anymore.
I agree.
Yeah.
To add on, I have the same problem as Nikita. Like I have like this gigantic thing with like time blindness, where I always overestimate my abilities, and I think that's like a common concern. For me, what I did was like leading towards A levels, I had a Google sheet, so like I would plan weekly, and my one thing was that I always plan less. I always made it a point to plan like 2 times less, because I found that like I'll do like a weekly timetable. So I'll just like write at the side like something I need to do for every subject, and then I'll just like per day I will fit it into the day, rather than like have like just a daily one, because I still need like a macro like look at it. And then I always found that I would have like 1 day or 2 days where I would just have nothing on because I planned less, and that gives you like the sense of accomplishment because you're like, wow, I'm already done with my week on Wednesday. No way. Then you want to add more, and I feel like it just feels so good. So I would just like stick to that, and I think that really worked for me. To our viewers who are watching, many of you are probably in secondary school and are like, wow, we are really unproductive. So let's do some contextualization. Darius, would you like to share about the academic rigor and like what the differences between like secondary school and JC like academic rigor is? Because I don't remember secondary school anymore.
Oh yeah, so for like secondary school, it's you can do a lot of papers in one day, and like when you mark it right, it's mostly correct. But then in JC right, it's, especially when you're learning new topics, like when you're learning new math topics, then the school will give you the question, but they don't show you the solutions. Yeah, and there are some questions where they don't show you the source of the question, so like you can't like Google.
They give you the answer, but not like the
they
like
give
the
the final
solutions,
solution, and
but
then
not the
they'll come up with their own
workings.
random questions.
Yeah,
And you cannot even, it's not even from other schools' paper, so
Yeah.
there's no way you can go to
Google
like
it,
website
yeah.
to like find like the answer keys lah. So yeah, I would spend like 1 hour on one question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like if you give us a 7-mark question, you give us a question, you give the answer. I feel like that's not enough for us to like find the answer. It's not like you just work backwards because it's like really difficult. And also like I feel like in primary school for like not primary school, but
in secondary,
in like secondary
school.
school, for example, for biology, I feel like most of my biology revision for exams was just me memorizing essays, like past year essays and all that. And I feel like that
Wait, for
actually-
bio
Yeah,
in
for
secondary
bio.
school.
But there's
Yeah.
essays in like
yeah, we had.
Oh.
Oh.
I mean, like,
Oh, that's
okay,
new to
like,
us.
Like we had like short essays, like 10-mark
Oh.
essays.
Wait, contextualizing in like secondary school bio, most schools do not have bio essays, but when you come to JC, you have bio essays.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
continue.
So in secondary school, it's all about like recalling what you've memorized and what you've learned. But for JC, it's more of applying exactly what it is, because I
Higher
feel
order
like,
thinking.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like in secondary school, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, bio is just you just memorize.
Mm.
And yeah, that's the case in secondary school. But I feel like once you get to JC, memorizing alone is not enough.
yeah.
If you haven't done enough questions,
Yeah, you can.
you
Yeah,
can't do anything
Yeah.
in the exam. Yeah, no matter how much you memorize.
Okay, moving on to the next section. Let's talk about like support systems and like maybe like our parental support. So my mommy and my daddy have been like I would say they are very chill parents, like very supportive, and they have zero expectations of me. Like growing up, I've never had my parents like whatever I wanted to do, I could kind of get away with as long as I don't die. And like in terms of like academic expectations, if I didn't do well, they would just say try harder. And I feel like because of that, I have never like really been very like upset when I don't do well. And I feel like for me that was really comforting because like I didn't really have like I didn't feel like I was letting down anyone, and it made my JC life like a lot easier and smoother because both my parents didn't give me any expectations. I became very like self-driven. Like if I want something and I fail, it's on my own accord. Like I did not work hard enough, or I was not effective enough, and I think that helped a lot, and it made me very resilient, I would say, like because I was always pushing myself. Advice to parents, or in my opinion, know that your kid is trying their best, even if they don't seem like it, like they're on their phone all the time. It's probably like a coping mechanism. Like I think trying to understand your kid rather than like just judge them and blame them would help a lot, and just like like support them, be more supportive. And I think honestly speaking, not doing well for like a singular test or like a few tests in a row does not mean that they won't do well in the future. You know, just like learning to give them the support when they fail and teaching them how to be like more resilient is important.
So when you say zero expectations, what do you mean? Because there's no way that your parents actually like don't care about whatever you do in GC, right? So they must have some level of expectation.
Okay, I mean like I think for me, I've always grown up to have to have like a pretty good work ethic. And maybe that's why I would say my parents didn't really have like very high expectations of me, because they always knew that I was trying my best and like doing my best and working my hardest. Not that they had zero expectations, but like maybe the expectation was just that I try my best. And I feel like that's very healthy, and I'm very grateful that they're like that. I would say I'm very self-driven. I know what I want and I work hard towards it. And if I fail, I fail on my own accord. And I think that I have a very healthy attitude towards that. Yeah.
Personally, for me, like my mom always tells me like it's my own future. So it's like of course she still has like some expectations, like she wants me to do well. So I really like have to like push myself. It's like my own self-motivation that I want to do well and have like a good future next time that I can support myself. Yeah, so that's kind of like my expectation from my mom. But like the rest of my family, they're quite understanding as well. One of my relatives, she actually failed her A levels last time, and she retook them, and she did like
My mommy
really well.
also.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, same.
Same.
We high five about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they understand that JC is really hard, and now that relative who like failed A level, when she retook it, she got like A's and B's, and then now she's like quite okay, like well to do. They understand that even if I didn't do well for my A levels, not that I got my results yet, but like if I did not do well, they will be okay with it, like if I had to retake or anything. And because they know like in the future it will work out if it somehow, you know?
Wait, can I add on?
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the same. I think my mom has this attitude towards me too, because my mom, she didn't do very well in JC, and then she went to poly, and my mom was like a little rebel growing up. So I feel like because of that, like she turned out okay, she turned out great. I think she loves her job. Actually, I don't really know if she loves her job, but she's in like, I would say, I mean, I look up to her a lot, so I think she's in a good position. And I feel like because she's had that like setback, she knows that although grades are important, I think they're not like a marker of success for your whole life or anything like that. And once like parents are able to like contextualize that, they give very like different expectations towards their kids. And I'm very appreciative that my mom has that understanding.
I think that my parents both hold me to a relatively high standard in the way that they won't really like monitor me when I'm studying or whatever. But when my grades come out, if I don't do well, they will ask me about it lah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. But then I feel like at the same time it's out of a sort of concern because they want me to do well so that I can get into like good uni courses or whatever. But I feel like sometimes when we have a conversation about it, it feels very like a one-sided conversation from my parents. It was closer to A levels that when I actually like realized that, okay, like I understand that they have their best interests, like they have my best interest in their heart, and they just don't have like a way of expressing it that I find like good
suitable
or like
for
what
you.
find suitable for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I understand they have high expectations of me, and they don't really know how to help me with like secondary or JC because they didn't study in Singapore, so they don't really know much about the system or anything. And their system was very, very different because they both studied in India. So there's like a lot of things that maybe they don't understand because maybe they were brought up that way also. I'm not sure, but at the same time, like I can understand, I can appreciate that like they have high expectations for me because they know about my capabilities and they just want me to live up to that.
Yeah. So like Nikita, like what do you think is a good approach for parents to approach their children? Let's say when their children don't do so well. Like, yeah. I mean, as a parent, I feel like all parents just want what's best for their kids. And sometimes it just comes out the wrong way. So for you, like communication, like what do you think it is?
Yeah, I feel like first of all, like when parents talk to their kids about their grades or whatever, I feel like it should be in a more like comfortable environment because sometimes it can feel like a very like judgmental or like
Confrontational
environment, which is not really comfortable. So even if sometimes parents ask like, oh, what can I do? It feels like the kid doesn't know what to say because
it's like
they're
not
like kind of
productive.
scared or like something. So I feel like it just needs to be like a more calm,
chill
like set down environment. And they can talk about like what like the kid wants to do differently. Maybe like they can ask if they can help somehow. Like I don't know. It's because it's mostly about listening to your kid and maybe like making them feel comfortable to talk to you if there's any problems or anything that they want to change about anything.
Do you want to share about your experience with
My
your
experiences
parents?
with my parents. I mean, for me, when I got into JC, I already had a goal and I was quite a driven person lah. So I think my parents just supported me lah. Like they believed that I would do my best in whatever I do, and like I'll try very hard lah. Of course, there's expectations. Like they want me to do well, but they don't really push me into working very hard lah because I've already been doing that consistently lah. So yeah, so when I don't do well for my exams or whatever, my parents do ask me, do I need tuition or what support do I need lah? But they do not really like come off as very overbearing in terms of like wanting me to get all A's even in school exams. Mainly they're the ones that ask me to chill lah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're the ones that ask me not to stress myself too much because
Yeah.
I come off as a bit ambitious and like I work very hard for what I want lah.
Do you think that you appreciate that style of parenting, or do you think that sometimes you wish your parents could maybe like push you a bit harder or like support you more?
Personally, I push myself very hard already lah. So
you don't need that
yeah, I
extra
think it depends
push.
on the kid itself
Yeah.
lah. Like if my kid isn't motivated, I will definitely push him very hard
Yeah.
to make sure that he does well lah.
I feel like my personal advice to parents, or like what I would want to embody as a parent, is that I think that when you have like a child, you cannot see your kid as like an extension of yourself, but rather like its own being with its own like dreams and hopes and wants and like passions and stuff. And I think if you respect that, your kid will naturally tend towards what they want to do. And when they do what they want to do, when they find their passion, their hobby, they work really hard at it because it's what they want, it's what they've chosen, and it's not what they've been pushed to do. And I find that to be really true for myself. And I think that as parents, you know, like a lot of parents have like ideas of what they want their kids to be, like a doctor or like a lawyer or like something like that. And I think that's good. It's good that you want your kid to be like a lot of things when they grow up. But at the same time, having that understanding that you should be giving your kid like it's their own space to discover what they want to do with their life, I think that's very important.
It's so neat. So I just want to find out whether it's very commonplace in like your school that there are a lot of parents that want their kids to have like specific jobs like being a lawyer, doctor or engineer.
I don't think it's okay. Well, personally, my friends, I think my friend group or the people I choose to surround myself with do not have parents who are like that. But at the same time, I do think that it's like a societal thing where like if you're in any position that's like, you know, if you're like in an elite school, the general expectation is that you go to a career that is very high paying, or like the specific ones that he mentioned. I think that's just like a cultural expectation, and I'm sure there are like a lot of parents who are like that. It's just that personally my friends do not have parents like that, and I do not tend to associate myself with people who are
Like that.
like that.
I do know people whose parents are like really pushy towards them being like a doctor, lawyer, or like engineer, one of those
Oh, yeah.
professions, you know, the top 3. Yeah. So but I feel like some of them end up actually getting motivated by their parents, and in the end like also like share the same goals as their parents.
So moving on, maybe we can discuss a bit about like school and like how the school has supported us. For me personally, I feel like all teachers are there to help you. I mean, sometimes you get bad teachers, but I feel like they're really in the minority, and all teachers are really, they genuinely do want to help. But in my experience, sometimes although the teachers want to help, their help is just like insufficient because maybe they have so many students. Like JC is kind of crazy because I think like one teacher is in charge of like so many students, and it's hard to meet you where you're at. And I think that it's good to maybe like find different like support systems of
Yeah.
help and stuff. Like I mean, we have you can book consultations with your teachers and stuff, but sometimes they can't meet you at the exact consultation slot because they have like, or they don't reply you immediately, and it's like not very productive for learning. How do you guys cope?
Some things that you can do is like maybe if you know that you need some extra help early on, you can always just go to your teachers and tell them like, hey, we probably need to like consult often, so like maybe like set a time with them like once a week to consult with them or
Yeah.
something like that.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's good. But also at the same time, like when you consult with your teachers, they can't really go through the entire topic with you. Like if the learning system in JC is not really your thing, then
They
I
won't like
think-
recap everything.
Yeah,
right? You have to
exactly.
like tell them specifically,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I need help in this one question
yeah.
or this one section.
Yeah.
You can't go
Yeah.
like, actually, this topic, I don't get it.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers will actually tell you to not say
Do
that,
that,
when you come
yeah.
into consultation. They
Agreed.
will always say, I can't reteach the entire topic to you, so you have to know exactly what to ask. If it's the learning structure that you can't really cope with in JC, then another good option is to actually just go for tuition. It's nicer because it's more personalized to you. Usually tuitions will take like smaller groups, and a lot of tuition teachers don't take very long to reply. I mean, I guess that depends on what center you're in.
Yeah, and they reteach
Yeah.
like they tend to like reteach all the content and
Yeah,
like go
yeah.
through everything in detail.
So if it's more if more personalized settings work for you, then tuition is definitely a good option.
And like more suited to
Yeah.
your learning style, because
Yeah.
like sometimes like the maths lectures or like those like cookie cutter videos don't
Mm.
exactly cut it up.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and also some people might be like embarrassed to go for tuition because they are like not willing to like admit that, hey, maybe I need more help. But honestly, like I feel like once you get to JC, you realize that most of the people around you go for a couple of tuitions, more than one. So I feel like it's not really anything to be embarrassed about. And I feel like if maybe like one or two people just don't go for tuition, that just means that the system that your school works
Yeah.
under works for them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that doesn't
yeah.
mean it has to work for you too. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't mean that you have to get everything that they get.
It doesn't mean that like they're more intelligent than you or anything.
Mm.
It just means that that style of learning like works for you. And I think it's important to remember that, because like when you go into like JC, I feel like so many times I felt like I was just really stupid.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's like coming to realize that you're not really stupid if you're already trying very hard. It's just that the system is not working for you, and you just need to find different alternative like sources of help. It's very important.
But honestly, like even if you don't go for tuition because like maybe like it's expensive,
Inaccessible,
yeah, you can also like use like free online resources like Holy Grail.
Holy Grail.
Holy Grail.
Grail.
Yeah, so basically like it's they have like a Google Drive of like resources from like primary school all the way to like uni, and then for like so like JC they provide like notes and like answer keys
from different schools.
yeah, and like TYS answers also. So I guess that's really helpful because like it's free.
And prelim papers.
Yeah.
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 It's a good resource to
Yeah,
like
and
tap
like
on.
if your own like school notes that you when you read it and you think like it doesn't help you, you can also like refer to other school notes provided by Holy Grail. I feel like we're plugging them, yeah. But good lah. Good lah.
can find on
Yeah,
Reddit, very
yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's
Link,
also- yeah.
link is on Reddit.
Yeah. And also
Google.
like I feel like they update very soon. Like
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah,
they have a
remember,
Telegram
like,
channel also.
yeah. I remember like getting our like mid-year exam results back. Then like maybe a week later I went on Holy Grail, everything was already uploaded for like all the schools. And it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all can also explore like talking to seniors.
Yeah,
So not just on academic advice lah, but also like in terms of life, because
Mm.
they know it best lah. They've experienced it like 1 year before you, and most of us as seniors will probably
Be willing to
will be willing to share and even help lah, because to us it's like also a source of consolidation right for A levels. Yeah.
Okay, fast game, guys. To end, let's give like maybe like some summary advice on how to cope with JC and like some strategies you used. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Everything in moderation, everything balanced, sleep, eat, study, socialize, everything in moderation. Sometimes some might be more important than others, but in the grand scheme of things, if you do everything in moderation from the start, it will be easier towards the end.
Make good friends and surround yourself with like good influence. Also like choose a CCA that you're passionate in.
Okay, thirdly, trust the process, because there are many times where you feel like you're lagging behind or like you don't know what you're doing in life, because you're just going through what the school asks you to do. But you trust the process and everything will settle by itself by A levels lah.
For me, it will be take things at your own pace, slow down, and I wouldn't say relax, like don't do anything, but relax, like calm down. You're doing good already. Like you are really doing very good, and you will make it there. Everything will somehow work out in some way or not or another. Yeah. So I think we have come to the end of our second episode on from secondary to junior college, overcoming challenges and embracing opportunities.
Yay!
I hope you have learned a lot, and if you have and you enjoyed this episode, you should
Like,
Share.
Subscribe.
and comment on anything you want us to do differently. Thank you for watching.